second semester, every other day, and it is designed for students who have note reading experience, who can read music. We have several band students in this class, but we also have several students that are not in band or choir. This is their only music class. So it does offer an opportunity for students to get a fine art credit to graduate from high school. We also have several sections of Steel Drum 1, which is for anybody that would like to learn to play music and they don't have to know how to read. I always ask them if they know their alphabet, because if they can know their alphabet, because A through G, we got it made. And we can function in that class. That class, however, is a non-performance class. This class is able to do a little bit more difficult literature, so we decided we would put them on the spring concert. And we've enjoyed getting 3 pieces ready for you tonight. Since this is my last concert here in Farmington, I have invited back some friends of mine who I consider my music family to share in this evening, and one of those people is Mr. Kyle Cox, who is an alumnus of Farmington High School, and I'm going to let him come to the microphone and kind of give you a short, encapsulated story of his life and how he got hooked up with all this. This is Mr. Cox.
Hi, everybody. So, Mrs. Hook was my band director in middle school, and Mr. Galke was my high school band director. I was a percussionist, I still am. Music is a huge part of my life, and it's actually my livelihood. When I went down to college at the University of Southern Mississippi, there was a steel drum down there. And it actually was one of the only musical ensembles I didn't have to be in as part of my studies. And it was probably, it definitely was my most favorite. And I was in it every semester and really enjoyed it. And I had the opportunity to do an internship one of the summers that I was in school down there in learning how to make steel drums. So I did that, went back to college, I graduated, and actually instead of going into a more ordinary music field after graduating college, I started making steel drums. And I did that for quite a few years, and back in 2004, my wife and I moved back home to Farmington, and I started a steel drum making company. And a few years after that, we started making a little bit different kind of steel drum that you play with your hands. But I made most of these instruments up here, I think back in 2008. Kurt Galke really wanted to have a steel drum band, and since I was in town, I couldn't think of a good enough reason not to do it, so we made some drums and started a program here, and I also started a steel drum program at Mineral Area College. So I'm just really, really fortunate, blessed you could say, that I get to do something every day that I love, and I wish that for anybody. So we're just going to have a little fun here, and see what happens.
then 2 sets of alto pans, 2 sets of tenor drums, and then the full-size bass drums in the back. And on each set of drums, the notes are arranged differently, and they're not in alphabetical order. So when you move to a different spot, you have to kind of learn a new setup for where you're going to play your notes. So it keeps the students very engaged and interested in the class. We're going to ask Mr. Cox to solo for us here on a tune called Sue's Blues. One of the most gratifying things as a teacher, I believe, is to see your students move on past high school and share in their successes as an adult. And Kurt and I know, are both really proud of Kyle and all that he's accomplished. We're like his musical mom and dad, you know, and he's our kid. And all of our band kids are our kids too. So I just want to thank Kyle again for coming and sharing it tonight with us. It was very special. And we have one more song for you, and it's called Volcano. This one has choreography.